Let's see if we can get a perspective on that from my colleague Siddhant Sibal, who continues to be with us on the broadcast, joining us from Thailand itself. Siddhant, this was one of the reports that was doing the rounds in the media, was that the identities of who's being brought out and who's being brought out first were being kept hidden so as not to cause panic among parents and families who were concerned that their children weren't being brought out first. Can you throw some more light on that aspect of the rescue operation and why it was essential in making sure this was a success?
Well, I'll reply to that later, but as of now, there's jubilation here at the media center, and volunteers who have been doing the major stuff for the media and the team here have been gathering and gifting everyone apples. Let's talk to a few volunteers. So how has been the last 3 days for you?
3 days, it's been, well, the last 2 weeks is like a roller coaster. Everyone is tired but happy, that all the kids are out.
So tired and happy, but happy at last because all is well, that ends well because the boys have been rescued and there are scenes of jubilation. But because the darkness has descended finally, it's way past 7 o'clock, so we really can't show because of the darkness here, because this area is rather underdeveloped and surrounded by a lot of forested area. But now there will be a briefing by the officials here, expectedly by the governor, who has been briefing for a pretty long time. For last 3 days, he has been briefing the media exactly after 9 o'clock, but today there will be an early briefing, it seems, because media started to gather for this press briefing. Right. Just behind me there have been usually 2 briefings, one in the morning and one in the evening. The morning one tells us when the rescue mission started, and towards the evening they used to tell us that finally what was the outcome. And today we have already shared the good news. The developments will be shared, that what transpired behind the entire rescue operation, because the details were not shared openly, because these were operational details, and the Thai authorities wanted to keep the cover on that. But and now it seems that they will be finally throwing the light on that, and what finally happened.
Aspects of this entire rescue operation, Siddhant, was giving out just the necessary amount of information to the media. I'll ask you to stay on with me for a while longer. With me on the broadcast also right now is Anmar Mirza, the National Coordinator of the U.S. National Cave Rescue Mission, joining us from Williams, the United States. Anmar, thank you very much for speaking with us here at WION. Just at the outset, this has, of course, been a story that's captured the world's attention. But give us an idea of how difficult this might have been for the people who have managed to pull it off, the divers, the rescuers who've been involved in the process from the get-go.
This was one of the most extraordinary cave rescues that I know of, and I've been doing cave rescue for over 30 years now, and it's just outstanding. The Thai government is to be commended for the fact that they allowed the outside experts to come in and assist. A lot of places would have considered it national pride to not ask for help, but there's no nation that could have fielded the amount of expertise that was necessary to pull this off successfully. So for that standpoint, they're just to be absolutely commended. Also to be commended is the Thai diver who gave his life so that these people could survive.
Indeed, that was, of course, a tragic development that took place early on in the rescue operation. But also, the physical view that we've gotten of these caves and the graphic representations that have been put out by different media houses just goes to show that this cave was extremely narrow. There was a point which sort of seemed like a choking point. How exactly do you go about ensuring that a child who doesn't know how to swim is able to navigate a crevice such as that while being attached to diving equipment and oxygen tanks?
So they obviously had several days of training and preparation, and while that training isn't what you would really want them to have to the level that they did it, you'd want to have weeks and even months of training. That helped. Also, what helped is giving them the psychological boost of doing something to help themselves. They're not just being carried out, but they're actively participating in their own rescue, which is tremendously important. And during that time, they were also developing a rapport with the divers, and that was absolutely critical, because that trust that they built I think is probably the key to the success of this operation.
Indeed, and of course we've also heard about the fact that the boys were meditating when they were found by the British divers at the very start. That the coach was also helping them keep calm and just wait for people to come and arrive and help them get out of the situation. Do you think that might have helped as well? The fact that these boys were in a meditative state, that they were taking care of both their mental and physical well-being as much as possible in the circumstances that they were stuck in.
I think all of those conditions helped them and helped them tremendously. The ability to help control your panic was what was absolutely necessary for them to get through those tight places.
And Anmar, also with your experience and to give us an idea of the multi-pronged effort that this has become, what do you think it was about this story that asked or struck a chord with people in the United States, in Britain, in Canada, in India, where we're broadcasting from right now? What made people leave what they were doing and volunteer in this mission?
Cavers, people who go caving recreationally, are absolutely famous for taking care of our own. We are the people who know how to operate in the environments we go into. Most fire departments, most law enforcement, military do not train for these. So whenever there has been a cave rescue anywhere, the caving community, the people who go recreationally caving, will have always responded. And it's something that I'm very proud of this community for.
Okay, stay with me a second. I just want to tell our viewers that the visuals on our screens right now are live visuals coming from Chiang Rai, from the province where the boys have finally seen their ordeal come to an end. 17 days after they were first went missing, the 12 boys and their football coach have successfully been extracted from that cave complex in northern Thailand. This is the hospital in Chiang Rai in Thailand, as is the coach. Not much has been told to us about the identities of those who were taken out first, who were taken out in the middle part of this rescue operation, and who came out last. But what we can tell you is that the visuals on your right are from the hospital where these boys are receiving treatment. Anmar, back to you. In your experience and in rescue missions that you might have been part of, what happens in the post-rescue period? What is the most difficult thing that people who've been through these kind of circumstances really face when they come out and when they're absorbed back into the everyday?
Well, they're going to be getting a lot of attention right now, and these are people who may not have had any experience with being on the news or with having all the people around them just lavishing them with attention, and they will be being constantly bombarded with requests for interviews, for people asking them to explain their stories. And then on top of that, you have the potential for that post-traumatic stress disorder and any of the other complications that may go along with that psychologically. But the thing is that people are resilient. Human beings are resilient. You cannot predict in advance how any one individual is going to react. All I can say is I hope that people will let these children have a chance to recover and that they do recover well.
Indeed, I think that is a thought that will probably cross a number of people's minds as the days go on. There's also, of course, been a lot of focus on the diver who lost his life, the Thai Navy SEAL, retired Thai Navy SEAL who came back as a volunteer. Just your thoughts on the sort of sacrifice people were willing to make sure that this team is brought back to safety.
Well, again, I know of no one in the caving community who would not risk their life to help another caver, and that's a very important thing, I think.
All right, Anmar Mirza, thank you very much for speaking with us here at WION. Appreciate you taking out the time and sharing your thoughts and expertise on us on this rescue operation. Just for our viewers who are joining in, it has been a story of global importance, a story that has captured everyone's attention. It's a story of resilience, a story of fortitude. The 12 boys and their coach, the football players who have found themselves in a difficult situation, trapped inside a cave complex in northern Thailand a good 17 days ago, are all out. They're all out safely. That's the most important thing. They've been brought out physically unharmed. They're in hospital now, the visuals of which are on your screens right now on the left-hand side. They are in Chiang Rai at this hospital receiving treatment after their ordeal has finally come to an end. Remember, they went missing on the 23rd of June. A rescue operation was launched immediately by Thai government authorities, and it was a good 9 days later that British divers who had made their way into this complex network of caves found these boys huddled on a mount which was popularly known as the Pattaya Beach. These boys were found there in relatively good health and meditating. And since then, of course, there has been a multinational effort that has gone into trying to bring these boys out to safety. In fact, one volunteer, a former Thai Navy SEAL, lost his life. He volunteered to join the group of divers who had already gathered in Chiang Rai to help bring the boys out. He got there, he managed to get oxygen tanks to the boys, but on his way out, he ran out of oxygen and passed away. And that sort of really brought home the severity of the situation and the complexity of the rescue operation underfoot, and did pose a number of challenges for the authorities. Remember, the biggest challenge in all of this has proven to be the monsoon rains, the torrential downpours that Thailand is known for around this time of the year. Siddhant Sibal continues to be with us, my colleague who is in Thailand covering the story for us. That factor, Siddhant, the factor of the rainfall was key to this operation. What made the authorities decide then finally on Sunday that it had to happen now and not later?
Well, one thing I can tell you, I'm quoting the governor's word. The governor of this province is that it was a battle against water, and it was indeed, because it's monsoon season here. Heavy rainfall, as you just mentioned, that it's a monsoon season, and that can inundate the small caves where the boys are. And these boys, there will be a difficulty once the caves get filled with water, and that is why there were a number of divers who were making sure that these boys are taken before the caves are inundated with water. That is why that was the biggest worry. And today it seems like at one point that the rains might cause the problem, because twice it rained heavily here. We also ran those shots of clouds over the mountain where the caves are located. But towards the end, towards the evening, it seemed there was a ray of hope, both physically also, because there was a ray of hope behind the mountains actually. And immediately that news came, and that news of all the boys and the coach being rescued, and finally the good news is out. But by and large, it was a stellar effort. It was an effort by the international team, because this group, the entire group of rescuers, were made up of not only Thai Navy SEALs but also from countries like United States, from Israel, from Belgium, from UK. India also offered its help. The Indian ambassador had proposed a company's name, a company that had helped Bangkok in the 2011 floods. And today the Thai government, the Thai ambassador in New Delhi, thanked with a letter to India. And finally it seems the entire mission is over. But it couldn't have happened if the international effort would have been lacking. And the point that the entire international media has descended on this area in northern Thailand is primarily because this was a human angle story. This was a story of determination, of hope, and perhaps this team is the bravest team in the world. The coach was the bravest coach in the world, and finally they'll be lauded once they get stable. Right now, of course, they are in hospital, hoping to get well as soon as possible. We do expect a briefing by the hospital officials tomorrow morning, but as of now we all are waiting for the big briefing by the governor here where I am standing, where there has been briefing for last 3 days, and the prayers of people, a lot of people from across the world has finally worked, but kudos goes to the Thai volunteers also, right, because volunteers from across Thailand had converged here to help the media and were providing free food to a lot of people who came, rescuers or media both.
Absolutely, and I think that's really been the hallmark of this story, this coming together, this bridging of divides, and this resilience that's been shown by not just the rescue workers. You're right, the media too has shown up in large numbers, and now you're pointing out, of course, the critical role that even volunteers have played in this mission. How many people, if I can ask you, Siddhant, give us an idea of how many rescue workers were involved, not just from Thailand, but all those countries that you mentioned, in making sure that this the momentum was maintained as far as this rescue operation goes?
Well, from today's briefing, I can tell you that 19 people were involved. The core team were involved today in today's rescue mission. On the first day itself, 17 people were involved. The number was later on increased. And today, the focus was to get all the boys out. And perhaps that is why, that was one reason that the operation started early at 10 a.m. in the morning local time. And it's almost like 7:30 here now. It was a mix of people from all over the world, not only from Thailand, but from across the world, as I've already mentioned you, the countries, because it was a global effort, and it was an effort which required international support as well. Countries such as Laos and Myanmar, which border Thailand, also help. And let me tell you, I'm standing at a location which is at the border area, at the tri-junction of Thailand, Myanmar and Laos. So that's why the neighboring countries also pitched in to help the boys who were stuck in the cave.
Right, and even in terms of money, of course, Siddhant, this must have been a fairly expensive operation for Thailand. We're looking at the fact that this has been going on. The rescue mission perhaps just really took off in the last week or so. But the authorities have been involved in locating these boys for the last 16 days. So I suppose this has been a tremendous drain on financial resources as well.
Well, on the money issue, the official word is not out, and in cases like these, money actually doesn't matter, because it's about saving human lives. So ultimately, even if money was involved, it wasn't worth it, because these were boys aged between 13 and 16, and one coach aged 25. So these lives valued more than money. And by and large, this story was about human bonds. It was about kids being stuck in a cave in a far-off mountain, and this could have happened anywhere. It could have happened in Germany, it could have happened in India, it could have happened in Canada. And we met a lot of media people. I asked them, why are they interested? Why is a Canadian interested? Why is a German interested? Why is a person from Denmark interested? All of them said this incident could have happened anywhere, and this could have impacted any kid in the world. And that is why the human angle to the story was the underlying factor, that people were involved, countries were involved, and everyone was trying to support the entire mission. The US president even tweeted saying that we are in touch with the Thai government so that if they require any help. And we know for sure that US personnel were also involved in the core team which helped the boys get out.
Okay, stay with me, Siddhant. For the benefit of our viewers, the visuals on your screen right now are live from the Chiang Rai Cave complex where these boys went missing. On the right-hand side of your screens now is the hospital in Chiang Rai itself, where all 12 boys and their coach are now recovering. They've been moved there to the hospital to make sure that they get the best possible treatment to deal with what's happened over the last 16 days. Remember, the concentration is not going to be just on the physical aspect of their recovery, but also their psychological and mental well-being. Siddhant, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Karthikeya, but before I do that, a quick question also on the fact that this has been a multi-pronged effort. We've harped on the fact that there have been so many countries that have been involved, but the death of that Thai Navy SEAL just brought home, I suppose, the fact, the severity and the level of complexity as far as this mission goes.
Well, the death of that former Navy SEAL of the Thai military is, of course, a sad news, and it also shows the complexity in the entire process. Thankfully, there was only one death, but it shows that how precarious, how dangerous this entire process was. The process of rescuing these boys, 13 boys, they were small kids. They were teenagers who were stuck there, and perhaps because of the coach who was also stuck with them due to his effort. Because we all know now that he was a monk before he became the coach, football coach. So that could have helped saving the lives. But the story happens at a time when we know the football World Cup is also going. And if the world media, even if I have a vox pop here with the public here, all of them would have said that the bravest team is not in Moscow. The bravest team is here in Thailand, in northern Thailand, an area which many people would have never known. And this incident happened, and the entire world media has converged to report on this story, a story which has human angle, a story that connects everyone, a story of human bonds, parents and son, and and brotherly relationship between friends. These people, the kids, the 12 kids and the coach will be best of best friends till the end of their lives because they struggled together, being in a cave, in a claustrophobic cave which was damp, which was flooded with water in a far-off mountain, missing for a few days, then finally being found is a dangerous thing. And these boys survived together. They have survived this ordeal, a dangerous ordeal, and come out successfully. And that is what the story was all about, a story of human survival in the worst of worst case, a story that transcends boundary, a story that connects people across a boundary. And that is why the international media, the international support system suddenly converged. Rarely we find good stories, in the sense happy stories, and this was one story of survival, of human will to come together, to fight to fight against the odds and come out together. It's about working together. Had it not been a joint effort, perhaps by the boys in that cave and the coach, it would have not really worked. Being in that dark, I can give you an example. Yesterday, the briefing got over at 10 p.m. Once the briefing was over, I was here till 11 p.m. waiting for my car, and this area was dark. A lot of insects. It's already started to descend. A lot of insects are right now descending on us. It's dangerous, and they survived it. It was spooky being there. Imagine these boys being there in the night in that dark cave, and hoping that someone will finally hear their voice, and somebody finally did. And since then, there was this global effort, 3 days of mission rescue operation, which started on Sunday and then Monday, and finally today, Tuesday, it ended at 7 p.m. We saw a lot of helicopters, we saw a lot of ambulances passing by us, and this good news being coming out by the Thai Navy on their Twitter account, and we expect the briefing to start shortly. We also saw the Thai Prime Minister. The Thai Prime Minister yesterday visited the caves outside and met the rescuing team. He has been personally involved in the entire rescue mission, getting minute-by-minute detail, and he even lauded the international media. He said that thanks for highlighting the entire thing, and he would like this event, this entire tragedy to be known, so that these tragedies are not repeated again. And the caves, once a tourist spot, have been closed for a long time, for indefinitely it seems, because these caves are really dangerous spots, and Thai government would never like to have a repeat of such a tragic incident, and an incident which involved young boys from 13 to 16, and their coach getting stuck in the cave and finally coming out successfully. It's truly human willpower. It's truly amazing to see a story that has fixed the global media across the world on this very good story, a story of human bonds.